За сайн байцгаана уу, энэ өдрийн мэндийг хүргэе. Бид нэр өнөөдрийнхөө булангаар тогтвортой хөгжлийн зорилт гэдэг дэлхийд даяар дэвшүүлсэн байгаа зорилтын хэрэгжилт манай Монгол Улсад ямар байгаа. Түүний хэрэгжилтийг сайжруулахад аж ахуй нэгж, хувийн хэвшил ямар оролцоотой орж болох талаар мэдээлэл өгөх зорилготой ярих юм. Тэгэхээр бид нар өнөөдөр студид нэгдсэн үндэсний байгууллагын Монгол Улсын суурин төлөөлөгч ноён Tapan Mishra гурж оролцуулсан байгаамаа. Thank you, Mr. Tapan Mishra, for accepting our invitation and joining us today. I'm delighted to have you as a guest.
Thank you, Intra, for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here and I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's start our talk with the SDG achievement in Mongolia. So recently, Mongolia has been ranked 109 from out of 163 countries in SDG score at 63.5, which is 2.4% below the East and South Asia regional average. So there is a lot of room for improvement. We could do better, right? So has there been any dialogue between Mongolian government and UN on how to improve the achievement of SDG goals in Mongolia?
Thank you for asking this very important question, Indra. Yes, the SDR report does place Mongolia as 106 after the 106 countries in their SDG report, in the SDG report. We also had a very detailed analysis with the government of Mongolia, which is for the SDGs called the VNR, the Voluntary National Review. The first one was done in 2019, and this time it's been done in 2023, comprehensively looking at the entire successes that Mongolia has achieved, areas that it's still lagging behind, and we have looked at some of these indicators. Now, as per there is some difference in the reports between the SDG report and the VNR reports, which are determined from the National Statistical Organization data, national data, and also other SCAP data, UNDP data. So we've looked at multiple plethora of information coming forward. As per the placement in the SDG report globally and in the region, as you said that we are a little lagging behind, there are two SDGs that we are really below average in the one is on goal number 10, reduce inequalities, because Mongolia's inequalities seem to be growing, and the other is on climate action, as per the SDG report. But when we look at the VNR, we find that there are many more issues that are there. They show that there are some positives, including the climate, in partnerships, in institutions, and also in the sustainable cities. These are four that is talking about doing well. The thing which is going behind, this SDG that we are going behind, is goal number 1 of no poverty. We are regressing, and I think the bigger issue there is on reduce inequalities. We've seen that the COVID pandemic globally has affected the socioeconomic impact in addition to health and other challenges. We've seen that globally we've been hit by the lack of opportunities and employment and trade. Everything has gone down. But for Mongolia, which is a landlocked country between Russia and China, and our dependence on economic trade with China has been severely affected because of the closure of the borders. And therefore, we have been much more affected than many other countries from an economic perspective. So there we see that because of the people who are most vulnerable, especially our Malching, Nudalching, our people from the lower categories of our economic well-being perspective, they have been affected even more. The inflation has gone up, exchange rates have become more negative. We have had huge challenges for Mongolia, and therefore I can understand our poverty rates have dipped, we have gone behind. But I think now that the government has been accelerating on the recovery policy and the new economic recovery policy. So that's why we're trying to accelerate. And also for the global world, this year we had the SDG summit in September 17th and 18th in New York. All the 193 countries are supposed to come back and talk about where they are and how they want to accelerate to achieve the SDGs by 2030. So there where Mongolia, we have worked closely to answer your question, with the direct engagement with the President of Mongolia, who is supposed to be representing Mongolia in the General Assembly every year. So we worked closely with the Ministry for Economy and Development, and with their leadership, we identified from the VNR, culled out the areas of challenges that Mongolia is going through. And through that, we had a lot of stakeholder meetings with private sector, with civil society, with the youth, with the media, with academia, with the development partners, with different stakeholders, and came together to analyze from there what are the areas that we need to accelerate fastest. And we've identified 8 areas of transition, gender equality as the driving cross-cutting theme, and 3 areas for implementing areas of action. So in that, education, health, food, renewable energy, climate action, decent jobs in employment, and value-added processing of food. These 8 areas have been picked up as areas to drive. In terms of gender, because again, Mongolia still suffers from the challenging issue of gender-based violence, and also lack of adequate opportunity for equal equality in terms of employment at higher levels, including the government and the parliament, in the private sector and public sector. So we're looking at how do we empower women to have a gender equality. And then on the aspects of it, we're looking at a governance as a key to make sure that we have an enabling environment to achieve the SDGs. As a landlocked country, but a beacon of hope, a democratic country which has come out from the shadows of the socialist past to a market economy, growing forward towards moving away from certain challenges that we have being a landlocked country in terms of trade and transportation, but also leveraging the potential we have on economic development beyond dependence on mineral raw material export that we give to our neighbors, to focus on value-added processing, to really add high quality and highly competitive products and services to the world, leveraging the Mongolian culture, which is a unique traditional nomadic culture blended with modernity in terms of science, technology, innovation, and the brand that we can create of the organic, of the environmental, eco-friendly products and services we can make. So there's a huge opportunity. I think now we are on the track that we're getting with the leadership of the government, all stakeholders together, to create an accelerated path to achieve Mongolia's Vision 2050, but much before that, SDGs by 2030.
So the achieving SDG 2030, it's not only governments and UN's job, so that everyone must contribute to it. Yeah. So how about the private sector, corporates? How can they play an important role in that?
Indra, this is a very, very important question. Certainly, achieving the SDGs is not the government's and the UN's job. It is everybody's job. And the private sector has a huge role to play. It has been proved today that the economy is not driven by governments and by certain donors, etc. It's driven by the economic driver for the country is the private sector. Because the private sector is structured and is incentivized to create opportunities for people to excel, to create innovative products and services, to create a market which is resilient, which is a thriving marketplace. You can see how the economic development has ramped up in the past several decades with the resurgence of the private sector. And you can see that they have a huge role to play, not only in making profits, but to invest in the world. Because it is not only what normally is traditionally called is the corporate social responsibility, or CSR, that we have to contribute some part of our profit just as charity. No, private sectors should see this as an opportunity, because we have only one planet and one population here. So to me, when you look at the aspects of making this planet better for not only us today, but for tomorrow, because our environmental challenges are greater, more grave every day. If we do not invest, we will not have a planet which is worth living. If we do not invest in the people, we will create islands of prosperity in the seas of desperate need and inequalities. So private sectors need to play a role, because they will be investing in what is called early investment to create more goodwill amongst the customers and clients and potential clients. So today, if a company invests in some social good, in the iMugs and bags and Zooms, tomorrow when those Malching Noodle Ching and other Hudonijil are able to buy those products and services, they will choose them because they have already got a goodwill that these people are helping in our development, in Hugil. So if the private sector take a role in supporting inclusive and sustainable development, the positive reputation that they will create for themselves will enable the people to really support their products and services. So it's an early investment to get more potential clients. So it is a win-win. If the private sector does invest in the development for people, even those who cannot afford their products now, they will become potential customers in the future. And that's the hope. And again, we make a more economically viable world where more and more people come out from poverty into more affordable lifestyles, where they can really have a more economically stable lifestyles.
So could you please share with us examples of international best practices or examples of how corporates and private sectors are contributing to SDG?
Excellent.
And helping with the community development.
So let me give you some examples from the country that I'm from, India. There's a company called Tata. It's a big conglomerate. Right from the beginning, they have had this entire focus on social development, not as a part of their business motive, but investing because they believe it's good for the company, good for the people. And so Tatas have been huge investors in the social development to help people improve their lives. Many other companies, including every company has a foundation like Infosys, Wipro, and many other IT companies which are doing very well in India. They have been investing in helping people improve their lives by what is called impact investing, by corporate social responsibility. It's been an early action. And I think today the image of those companies which are investing in people has gone up tremendously. And I think people also, like tomorrow if there's an IPO comes out from the company, people will be willing to use their savings and resources to buy the company because those companies are more likely to be sustainable and be more profitable, and there will be an opportunity to have share profits if they do well. So I think there are many such examples. I talked about India. I'm sure many other countries have very good opportunity in the West, in the US, in the Europe, in the other countries around the world. We've seen those companies which make an investment for the longer term, for social and environmental and governance perspectives, do much more sustainably. I know that there are companies like which are being seen as a great place to work surveys, or companies which have been more sustainable. And they have found that the companies which are those built to last are ones that are really looking at the longer term investment in a better world.
And could you name Mongolian companies that are also, thriving into SDG?
I must say that, Mongolia is still rather young in the private sector. Our market economy is about 30 years old, right? So in 1992, when we became a democracy.
Still baby,
so we are still, I won't say infancy, but I think it's still young.
Yeah.
So I need to be more supportive rather than being critical that are there bigger companies. There are companies that are doing good work, and other banks, Golom and TDB, which are looking at green financing, green resilience building together. We have also seen MCS Coca-Cola looking at building more better waste management strategies to really help people working on other. And then we have companies like Mobicom, which are looking at social investing also and enabling a larger, broader sense of looking at the social development, economic development for all. And I think these are champions for our SDGs. So private sector has a very important role to play. To come back to your question, Indra, I personally believe that we need to empower our private sector with the kind of knowledge and support that we can provide so that they can really not only make a win-win of their own profitability, but also invest in building a more resilient, a more economically developed Mongolia, which will impact their business growth opportunities for the future.
Thank you for the answer. Yeah. So recently now there have been a new terminology of ESG.
Correct.
Yeah. So some people get confused, say they seem to be similar, but then they're different. And then could you please explain more on that, how they are similar and how they differ from each other?
So good question, Indra. I think this has become more like a global trend now to look at ESG certification and ESG investing. So as I was saying, that companies that are sustainable are the ones that have solid structures and processes that are well entrenched into principles that support sustainability. So as I said, look at the SDGs. It's about 5 P's: people, planet, peace, prosperity, and partnerships. So for the people, for the planet, which we have the only one, peace and prosperity is what we need through partnerships. So if you look at that, when you talk about environmental, it's about the planet, the only planet we have. So we need to take care. If the planet we are polluting and we are creating more challenges for the people to live in, we will create a living hell. And there are countries where we are suffocating. Even in Ulaanbaatar, during the winter, we've been seeing how much of pollution we've been. Even today, when we use processed coal and not raw coal, there are different challenges that we go through with carbon monoxide deaths from children. We've seen that regularly put together. We've seen other issues that have been on the environmental. So if you do not look at the environmental footprint that you are creating as a company, it will not be sustainable. Second is social. End of the day, we are about people. Companies, wealth for what? End of the day is to bring well-being in people. So if you do not think of the people, who are your customers, clients, and also employees and stockholders and shareholders, it's all about social. It's all about people. So we need to have that footprint very strongly entrenched in our long-term strategies and policies and plans. And the third is governance. Governance is the key. If you do not govern a country or a company well, it leads to malpractices, corruption, inefficiency, ineffectiveness, and lack of transparency. Those are major reasons for companies to fail. And therefore, when you look at these 3 pillars, environmental, social, and governance, you make sure that the company will be sustainable. So those standards and the benchmarks that we have, when there are checklists that, do you invest in a company? When people are looking, investors are looking into, should we invest in a company A, B, C? If they have a surety of a good assessment saying that these companies are strong in these areas, they're checking the right boxes, it gives them confidence that this company will do well and they will be willing to invest. And the companies will be sure that they can be sustainable. They can be there for a longer time and be able to really do well for their shareholders, stockholders, employees, and for the consumers, and also for the larger nation.
So is ESG then only for investment purpose, or is it something that you always have to have on your radar or on your dashboard?
You know, it's a good principle. It's like, do you go to pray just because when you need help from God? No? You go to Ochirva and say, oh, I need some help, I want to pass this exam. Or do you pray normally because you are a spiritual person, because it makes you a good human being? So just as an example. So if you keep ESG as a principle, not only for investing, but it builds your reputation, your image in the society. So even when people are not looking at investing only, when a customer or client goes saying, oh, they are ESG certified or they are ISO certified, they're looking at quality or sustainability brands, those gives you more confidence. So it's a good thing to have. Not only do it when you need to do it because of you're releasing an IPO or looking at investing, so it's a standard that should be deeply entrenched, deeply institutionalized and established as a way of life rather than only looking for investing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So now recently Mongolian companies are trying to adhere or tailor their policies with the ESG and SDG goals and achievements, the targets and so on. So could you please give us some advice on how corporate can incorporate SDG and ESG into their policies and procedures?
Sure. You know, the UN also has a very good outreach for the private sector. It's called the Global Compact, which enables standards and networking for all global companies. And I would invite as many Mongolian companies which are willing to have a national and a global standard to also take advantage of the UN Global Compact, which sets those standards. But my advice would be threefold. Number one is that for companies need to be built on efficient and effective structures, process systems with a long-term vision, with a clear strategy and a plan, and a business model which enables profitability. Because at the end of the day, if there are no profits, companies will not be sustainable. So the first part of it together. The second part of the company is about who they serve. They serve their boards in terms of profitability, but they serve the people in terms of the products and services they need. So how do we be innovative and creative and on a regular basis understand the needs and priorities of the customers and the people and able to create those processes and adapt to the changes of technology, innovation, creativity, and be able to see how they become top-notch. Many of the, we talked about in India, we had many, I'm sure in Mongolia as well, when we started in the 80s and 90s, we had old televisions which are different models with 1 or 2 channels to come. Today we have handheld devices and a lot of people don't even look at televisions. Technology is changing rapidly, right? So how do we really adapt to that needs of the people today? How do we leverage science, technology, innovation and be on the cutting edge? So companies need to be agile, they need to be nimble and fast-footed, efficient, effective and transparent so that they can be leaders of the market, not falling behind. Second part. Third part is that they need to be also responsible organizations and responsible citizens of the world. That how are we creating a better world? It's not only for profits and for our customers, but we have a responsibility for the whole planet and the people together. So those companies which are looking at that broader mandate, not only for their customers and clients and shareholders, are the ones that are creating a global impact, and they have a more probability of success. So the secret of success is these 3, according to me. Look at your profitability, look at your innovation and product services to your clients and understand their needs and serve them and contribute to a better world.
And you have mentioned about the Global Compact. Mm-hmm. So what is this platform? How can a company or a corporate get engaged in that?
So we have been working in all countries through the Global Compact, which is a platform through the UN, a bridge with the private sector. Because normally...
Is it web-based or...?
It's an organization.
It's
an organization and we provide services. And also in Mongolia, we work through MNCCI, the Mongolian National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mm-hmm. And partnerships are through there, and it creates, there is a membership to that, people can join that, and they can reap the benefits of the global platform to have the Global Compact of the United Nations to support private sector in a more effective way to be a global players in the business. So certainly you can look it up. It's on the website as well. People can look at UN Global Compact. They can reach out to us. They can reach out to MNCCI, and we can also work together to see that we help our private sector to really become world-class institutions and organizations which are cutting edge in terms of not just being limited to the country, but can be international organizations as well.
So if there are any companies that are interested in Global Compact, they can go into UN website,
yes.
Or can approach the Mongolian Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Okay, that's very important information. Thank you for sharing that. So I think ESG is not only for the private sector, also for the government it's important, right? Because also government seeks for investment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so for Mongolian government, I don't hear much them talking about ESG. So do you hear?
It's a very interesting question. So I think the principles are rooted. So we talk about the environment. Certainly, we've been working on climate. We're looking at the NDCs, the nationally determined contributions on the carbon footprint and the greenhouse gas emissions. We are trying to lower by 22%, 20.7%. Aspirationally, we want to go to 27.2% reduction. We are looking at, the president has been talking about Thirbum Moth billion tree initiative, right? And they're looking at also the social part of it, social in terms of the Huns Mongol and the Irul Mongol for the people, healthy people with healthy food. So that's something we are looking at. And then finally, also the government has been openly and transparently talking about governance. We talk about reducing corruption, more efficiency, effectiveness and transparency. Recently, we've been working with the UN, with the National Academy of Governance to really help Mongolia to improve certainly processes and institutional systems through global practices with UN DESA and UN Project Office on Governance. We are trying our way to work with the government to make it more effective and more effective governance. Effective governance will lead to more institutionalized processes of environment and social and other economic development completely put together. So I would say that although they may not have talked on ESG investing or ESG standards, but it's rooted, we can really work together with the government to ensure that we follow the standards, global benchmarks, to be a more effective government and more sustainable government and more sustainable country and resilient country.
Mm-hmm. So although the government doesn't use the terminology ESG, it's focused on it. Correct. And working on all the different aspects of it. Okay. So lastly, I would like to talk about individuals. They also have, they play a big role in the SDG, and then UN has launched the Act Now campaign, to inspire and encourage individuals to contribute more into the SDG achievements. So could you please elaborate more on this campaign?
The Act Now campaign was started in the COP in 2018, especially by David Attenborough, and talked about how, especially focus on the environment and the planet, and how currently and therefore it became a movement from the COP meeting to say that everybody can play a role in, and we need to act now because our planet is going, the temperature is rising. Moment it goes to more than 1.5 degrees, it'll be unsustainable. It's difficult to reverse back. So we need to understand that. So we need to act now. And they looked at 4 facets of that in terms of environment, making role model. So then action plan. These are great initiatives. And the whole idea, and again, just to say in Mongolia, we have been reaching out not only to the youth, which are the drivers for tomorrow, but also the children. I've been going to Satsarlegs and Sorgoils, and Iksorgoils, engage with them, and every other NGOs, INGOs, private sector. As you said, everybody has a role to play. SDGs is not for the government, not for the UN, not for the private sector only, it's for everybody. So they can all contribute. Small things like how do we reduce waste? How do we look at more responsible consumption? How can we do small things of acts like, the traffic congestion city adding to more pollution by taking more cost efficient and more pollution efficient processes like, walking small distances instead of using your cars or using public transport. And the other ways we can look at how do we reduce the use of single-use plastics? How do we make more resilient ways of doing this? How do we make our food choices? Because again, in Mongolia, because of the nomadic past, our food choices are more 60 to 70% mah and more and other substances, which have perhaps led to some health challenges too. Also, we can have more diversified diets with nogon and gyms and sultarak bishlek more use. So I think we can create those healthy, by looking at each of the goals, we can see what we can do. By promoting efficient use of electricity, conserving unnecessarily energy and heat when not needed. So SDG is not just a goal, it's a mindset. So my message to all Mongolians and all the people of the world is that let's have a SDG mindset. What is it? How do we make the world more sustainable? Тогтвортой хөгжил. Тогтвортой хөгжил is about the way of life, the way we think, the way we act, and the results we get. The goals are the end results, but it depends on your thinking, your voicing, your action, and then your results.
Mm-hmm. And I also tell people that actually protecting environment is not a sentimental thing, it's something that you do. And it's actually economically beneficial, because when you turn off your lights, you save money.
Exactly.
When you close the tap, you save money. So it's not only just something, in the sky.
Correct. And very practical. And again, I have gone to schools, these are not only premium schools like ISU and American school or British school or English school. I've gone to schools of the public sector schools in Songang Haram, in Yarmag, and I've even to special children's schools, School 63 in Yarmag, and School 115 in Yarmag, and School 65 in Songang Haram. And children are very excited. They create their own clubs. We have gone to their summer camps in Naramdal, in Terelj, where they are during summers, and we talk to them how they can make a difference. And children are very excited because they are more keen that it is their future tomorrow which is going to be affected more than us. So I think it's everybody's business, and it's about the mindset. It's not only about a good thing to do, a pie in the sky. It helps you more economically, socially, health-wise, well-being-wise, every way. So it's a smart way of thinking for yourself. It's the only way for thinking of yourself for a better future.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. So I have gone through all the questions I have prepared, and I would like to leave the last question open for you.
Okay, so I wouldn't say as a question, but my message to all Mongolians, that, you know, we at the United Nations in Mongolia, and we had the United Nations Day 2 days ago on the 24th of October, and coming on the 27th is the Mongolia's joining the United Nations. I am very proud. On 1961, on 27th October, Mongolia joined the United Nations. As a result of what that happened is that Mongolia's voice in the multilateral global platform became equal to all of the 193 countries. So today when Mongolia speaks, everybody listens. And they've contributed to many conventions and priorities. On peacekeeping, Mongolia has proudly contributed to perhaps one of the highest per capita contribution in the UN peacekeeping in difficult countries like South Sudan and other countries. And I would say that Mongolia is also the role that we have played in the UN is being a good role model on democracy and human rights in a very geopolitically challenged environment. Also on nuclear non-proliferation in a world which is getting more and more dangerous. I think Mongolia has a beacon of hope because I think we believe in Engtaivan, Inkamaklan. And I think that's something that has come in the culture. Although we come from the history and heritage of Genghis Khan, I think we've used it now in a way of where we have more, the culture, the nomadic culture is being played. And I think Mongolia is doing quite a significant contribution to the UN. But what I would like to leave behind my message is that we can do a lot more. Mongolia has a huge potential. Mongolia can be a role model for implementation of SDGs, which is not good for only the country, but all the people and the world. We can be a role model of the world, how this can be done, how we can accelerate to achieve the SDGs by 2030, because we have a longer term vision. We have Vision 2050. And I've been saying this, that if you need to go to Dornod, you need to reach Hinti first. So you have to go to 2050, you have to achieve 2030, only then people will believe that you're going in the right direction and you can reach Hinti. So that's my message to all Mongolians. Let's work together under the leadership of the government with all stakeholders, including public sector, private sector, civil society, youth, Imektichod, Iraktichod, Zalachod, Hukting, Ahmed, everybody together to understand how we can make this a sustainable world for all Mongolians here, leaving no one behind. That's my message.
Yeah, thank you for this very important and inspirational message for our listeners. So thank you, Mr. Tapan Mishra, for joining us today and giving us useful information and giving inspirational thoughts and messages. So өнөөдрийнхөө дугаар бид нар Монгол Улсын дахь НҮБ-ийн суурин төлөөлөгч ноён Тапан Мишраг урьж оролцуулаад Тапан Мишра биднэрт тогтвортой хөгжлийн зорилт бол хэрэг чухал тухай үүнийг одоо хэрэгжүүлэхэд засгийн газраас ахуулаад хувийн хэвшил хувь иргэн хүртэл ямар оролцоотой байх ёстой тухай ярьж өглөө. Тэгээд дараагийнхаа дугаараар уулзлаа, баяртай. Та бүхэн биднийг Secret to Success Facebook page болон YouTube channel-аар дагаарай. Дараагийн дугаар хүртэл баяртай.
Mashik Baitla Indra for inviting me. I'm happy to come back if you need to discuss anything else, because my commitment is the same as yours to help Mongolia become a champion in the world for sustainability, inclusive development for all, and I'm happy to support you. Sansakni Husi, Amjil Husi, Mashik Baitla.
Thank you very much.